Welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Eli, and the topic of today's bedtime story is a late 30s woman shares her stance on children. One more time, a late 30s woman shares her stance on children. And if you've been following my work for quite some time, or even following some of the other creators that, create similar content as I do, I'm pretty sure you know which way this is going to go. But just in case you're new to all this, and even if you're not, it's rather comical. So stick around. This is going to be a real good one. Let's get to the Reddit posting where this came from. This is from the subreddit Dating Over 30. Of course. Dating Over 30. I shouldn't talk. I'm 48, just recently turned 48, but I got a great woman, and she's in her, 40s as well. And hey, it's all good. We need to talk about that here today. But anyway, the topic of this, posting, or the original poster, titled this: "Would this stance on children be off-putting?" One more time. Would this stance on children be off-putting? Well, if you're going to title your posting like that, obviously, in my opinion, that's already a negative connotation, right? But let's see where this goes. Oh my goodness. F is for female. Don't think I've ever thought seriously about having kids. I guess I just assumed broodiness would set in at some point, the way it did for most of my friends. I'm wondering why, ma'am. Did you and your friends spend the majority of your 20s hooking up with the Chads and Tyrones, trying to lock the Chads and Tyrones down? And they wanted nothing more than a booty call every now and then. And now you're in your late 30s, because she mentions her age. She's 37. I'll get to that in a second. Now you're in your late 30s. Your biological clock is going tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. And you're angry and bitter. So are your friends. Because you gave into the social stigma of, okay, let's go to college, get a degree, settle into our career, and focus more on our careers and our families. We can put up our families until our 30s, and then, some man will lock us down at that point, right? Or we can lock a man down at that point, right? And now the wake-up call has come, right? But that doesn't seem to have happened. Of course not, ma'am, for the reasons I just mentioned. Let's continue. At this point, I'm pretty sure I don't ever want to give birth. And having just turned 37, I think that option is off the table anyway. No, ma'am, you're still fertile at 37. You're just less fertile than you were before 35, and you're less fertile than you were in your 20s. But ma'am, there are many women still having healthy babies in their late 30s. It's all a mindset. All of you ladies that are in your late 30s, especially 36, 37, 38, you're all thinking this way. Oh, I don't think, it can happen now. I'm too old and blah, blah, blah. No. It's all in your mindset. But I'm also not completely against the idea of raising kids. Well, ma'am, sounds like you want kids, but you can't find a man that wants to lock you down and start having kids with you at age 37. Now, if you were 31, 32, 33, even 34, might have been a different story. If you were in your late 20s or mid to late 20s, and it would have been a different story. You're younger, you're more fertile, you can have more kids, less chance of birth defects and all that, right? You want kids, ma'am. You just can't admit that because you're having a hard time finding a guy that will accept you at your age and marry you and try to have kids with you. So pre-existing kids isn't a deal breaker. Okay, so you're okay with dating a man that was previously married or has kids from a previous marriage or relationship, right? You want your own kids, ma'am. And I'd be open to adoption if my partner wanted that. When I was single before I met this lady, you know how many women around this same age I talked to that said, oh, I don't know if I want kids of my own, but I'm open to adoption or fostering children, right? Why? Even in your late 30s, you're still, reasonably fertile and can still have your own kids. Why would you want to adopt or foster children when you could try to have your own even at your age in your late 30s? I don't get that. I never can understand why women would prefer to adopt someone else's kids than biologically try to have their own. I'm not sure if my flexible stance on kids would be a red flag for potential partners. Ma'am, if I was talking with you, if I was single and I was talking with you, right, and you are all over the place on this subject, I would assume you're like that in other aspects as well. And I would just, politely end our conversation and just, go away. Ma'am, I wouldn't want to be with a woman that has this kind of attitude. It's a piss poor attitude. I mean, I feel like I should be more certain about this aspect of my future by my age. Of course, ma'am, you're 37 years old. You're 37 years old. You're a grown-ass woman, and you're acting like a teenager. Man, that's a big turnoff for any mature, confident, strong guy you would want to be with, at this age, right? Again, if it was me, I mean, I would feel you're all over the place, and I wouldn't give you the time of day. I mean, I'd be polite. I'd end it politely. I'm not a jerk, right? But if you were rude to me, I'd probably hang up on you and ghost you. It would just depend. But in this case here, I would just say, hey, it's just not going to work for me. It sounds like to me, you're uncertain of what you want, and I want to be with a woman that's certain about what she wants, right? Most people seem a lot more sure about which side of the yes-no decision on kids by the time they're approaching 40. You'd be surprised, ma'am. Most women are actually approaching it like you because they're still angry and bitter that they didn't do this in their 20s. And all the decent, average-looking guys you ladies passed up that would have given you this in lieu of banging the Chads and Tyrones. Now you ladies are coming out here and you're realizing the mistakes you made. You're also realizing that, the social stigma or the feminist agenda, with no disrespect, indoctrinated you into a culture of, go to college first, get a college degree, be more career-focused than family-focused, and you can focus on your families later on in life. And look what's happening to most women at your age. You and your friends in the same position. Yeah. All right. Let's read a few comments here. Let's see what the people said in the comment section. You'd be surprised just how many people out there have a similar flexible stance on kids as you. Flexible stance? I don't think she's being flexible. I think she's just confused. I think, she's angry and bitter that she didn't do this in her younger days when she had many potential opportunities from decent guys that were a 7 or an 8 on the attraction scale, were 5'11" instead of 6 feet or taller, okay, were 5.5 inches below the waist instead of 6 inches, and made $95,000 a year instead of $100K plus. That's how picky women have become, right? So in lieu of giving those guys a chance, she friend zones all those guys, same with her friends, right? And they kept trying to lock down the 9s and 10s, the Chads and Tyrones. And the Chads and Tyrones are like, we're in high demand. All the women want us, so we're just going to have fun. We're not going to let any woman lock us down. Now they're just being angry and bitter, so I don't think they're flexible. I think they're bitter. They're being bitter about this. If they were flexible, they'd be like, hey, you know what? If I find a good guy, I would love to have kids. That's the right attitude to have. This is a confusing attitude that would not attract any decent man they would want to be with. You're saying you're open to adoption and kids of your future partner. That's a pretty clear stance to me. That's a confusing stance. That's a cop-out. Why would she want to raise someone else's kids or adopt kids from elsewhere instead of biologically trying to have them herself? She's 37. She can still have kids in a healthy way. She may have to try a little bit longer, but hey, the man that she's with and her can have a lot more fun in the bedroom to try to knock her up, right? God, it is only a red flag for people that want different things, in which case you're not compatible anyways. Well, you need to be clear with your intentions. You need to be clear with what you want, okay? If you want to find a good guy as a woman in her late 30s or at any age. But in this case, she's 37. If you want to find a good guy that knows what he wants and is ready for something, and you want him to be clear with his intentions, you need to be clear with your intentions. This woman is not clear with her intentions. This woman is all over the place with her intentions, right? She's still not ready at age 37. That's what it sounds like to me. All right. What else do we have here? So this person is responding to a part of what the original poster. Here, give me a second here. Hold on a second here. Hold on, Nelly. Here we go. And the part that they responded to was where she wrote, "That's a pretty clear stance to me." And the response is, "That's really all that matters. Her stance is not clear. What's clear about it? It's all over the place. On the subject of children, the person just has to know their own position firmly and work with others that want to work within that." She's not clear with her stance. So how can she expect someone else to be clear with theirs or want to take her seriously? What's happening with people nowadays? Do they have half a pea brain? What's going on? And sorta in between flexible can be a firm position so long as that person knows about it themselves. Sorta in between flexible can be a firm position. No, it's not a firm position. Listen to that. Sorta in between. Oh, maybe, I'm not sure. Let's just whatever, let's just, whatever, right? There's no firm position there. That's a confusing, all over the place type of position. Wow. Can be a firm position so long as that person knows it about themselves. No matter what the position, you're going to gain a few fans but lose essentially everyone else that holds the opposing position. She has not stated a clear position. She's confused. So she's going to confuse both sides of the spectrum there. God, man, some people just, wow, man. No wonder why the U.S. Is the most uneducated country on the planet. No disrespect. Wow. Then the same person responds to another part of the original poster's posting, and the part they responded to was, "It is only a red flag for people that want different things." And this person responds to that by saying, "Just a clarification. These are called deal breakers. These are called deal breakers, not red flags. Deal breakers are fine. They're really important and most often good to get out of the way early. Red flags are warnings that the person might not be who they present themselves to be. Most often character flaws that will result in tension, fear, and resentment. Deal breakers are good, red flags are bad." I understand about deal breakers, but what does this have to do with what the original poster was stating? And, how can someone define what's a deal breaker of hers or not when she's confused about what she wants? If she's firm about what she wants, then someone can either accept that or not. But if she's all over the place, or if someone else is all over the place, how can you accept something when that person is not sure about what they want regarding that aspect themselves? Are you folks thinking when you type here? Like, I'm serious. I'm like, wow, no wonder why we're in the worst dating world in the history of our world. We're in the worst time of dating. We're dealing with uneducated people. We're dealing with people being raised very differently nowadays. And the level of education continues to diminish here in the U.S. People are becoming more and more uneducated. Wow. It just shows. Let's read a couple more comments here before we wrap up this video. A lot of people in these relationships subs like to polarize critical issues into red flags simply to reinforce that they've personally made the best overall decision in their own lives. She's seeking validation. I think that's what you're trying to say here. She's trying to seek validation regarding if she's done the right thing in life to wait so long before, trying to make this happen. right? She had opportunities. You can't sit here and tell me that women don't have a ton of opportunities in their 20s, despite what they look like nowadays. There are women that are 50, 60 pounds overweight, right? That are getting hit on by thirsty beta males, by just guys in general. All women have the most opportunities in their 20s, and they pass that by to completely focus on college, which is not a bad thing, but you should be able to balance in a real relationship too. But what they do in college, instead of focusing on the real relationship, is they ride the carousel. And in many cases, they unknowingly ride the carousel because they're trying to lock down the Chads and Tyrones because they're the most attractive guys. And the Chads are just using them for sex. And the Chads just keep dumping them, and they go from Chad to Chad to Chad to Chad to Chad to Tyrone to Tyrone to Tyrone to Tyrone to Tyrone, right? And they keep getting used and dumped. So then they go, they get their college degree, they start to work their career. Now they're in their early 30s, and now they're trying to start to lock a guy down. And the guys that are in their early to mid 30s are dating women that are in their mid to late 20s, and they want nothing to do with the women in their early 30s. They had their chance. They had their chance. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for women to find guys in their 30s, but they got to be really clear with what they want. They have to own up to the mistakes they made, and they just have to be open. They have to be open and clear and not play games and not be confused like this original poster is. Still confused at 37. This person writes, furthermore, my personal take, I was vehemently against kids when I was in my 20s because I practically raised my younger siblings, saw 2 live births, and cleaned up more vomit / changed more diapers than most grown men ever have in their entire lives. I was done. So because in your 20s you were helping raise other kids, I don't know, maybe you had brothers and sisters that had kids, or other family members' kids, or friends' kids, or something like that. So because of that experience, you're like, oh, I've already experienced this, so now I don't want this for myself. Wow, what's happening to women nowadays? I mean, men and women both have major issues nowadays. Something needs to be done to change this, right? But women, wow. This whole agenda, I mean, no, I'm happy that women have equal rights and all that, but this has completely affected women from having what they really want, in my opinion. You have a lot of angry and bitter women in their 30s and 40s now lashing out all over social media. Where have all the good guys gone? Nobody wants me, That's because you're still trying to Chad chase in your 30s and 40s. Lower your standards a little bit and you'll find a good guy. Eventually I reached a well, maybe for the right person phase. It sounds like to me that, now you're probably in your 30s because you're talking about in your 20s here, right? And you're realizing that you can no longer get the Chads and Tyrones, right? Right? The Chads and Tyrones no longer want you. So now you're just trying to find any decent guy that would give you the time of day. But the problem is the decent guys that approach you, even though they're decent looking, you're not attracted to them physically. And maybe, they lack a little of the charisma of the Chad and Tyrone. So you're setting your standards way too high. Women are setting their standards way too high. They're unreasonable and they're very unreasonable expectations, and that's why they end up going. They end up being single in their 30s and in their 40s, and then they're whining and complaining. This is nothing new here. A couple years ago, I met a woman. I met a woman who was also in the well, maybe for the right person phase, and we both agreed very quickly that we would have children with each other. I don't know what that means. Like both of you would find a guy at the same time and try to get pregnant at the same time. Didn't work out for other reasons, but that was an interesting and satisfying feeling that I'm now aware even exists. What were you both going to do? Both get artificially inseminated at the same time? You know? I don't know what that means there. This is confusing. More confusion here, right? More confusion here, which is why these women don't have what they really want, right? I'm not child free, but I'm not charming at the bit either, and I would prefer someone who's along the same mindset. It is simply a preference. I don't know what you mean by I'm not child free. Have you had kids? I mean, I'm really confused by this posting. It's like all over the place, right? I've tried to make as much sense out of it as possible, but wow. Wow, confusing. All right, let's read a couple more here before we wrap this up. I'm sure lots of us wouldn't want to do it alone, but might want to have a kid with someone we really loved if that was possible. That's the point. That's the point. You have kids with someone you really love and you adore, someone that respects you in the way you want to be respected, and someone you can, respect as well. Okay, that's the bottom line. The bottom line also is you ladies are setting your standards way too high, There are many guys that would give you what you want that are slightly, just very slightly less attractive than the Chads physically, but they can offer you everything else. And you don't give them the time of day. You friend zone them. And then you whine and complain on the internet about it, right? Because your standards have been set way too high. Let's read one more here before we wrap this one up. Agreed. I actually think it is a red flag if someone thinks your viewpoint is a red flag, as ridiculous as that sounds. Is this a woman writing this? That is the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard. I'm going to read that again. I actually think it is a red flag if someone thinks your viewpoint is a red flag, as ridiculous as that sounds. That's probably a woman that's ticked off that men have smartened up nowadays. Many men have smartened up, and they ask a lot of questions like I do, when I was in the dating world. Obviously, I'm dating someone right now, for those of you that have been following my channel for a while. But what I would do when I was getting to know women, I would ask a lot of questions, because I wanted to figure out what their red flags were before even meeting in person with them. I would get on the phone with them and I would ask them lots of questions. And some women would say, what is this, 20 questions? What is this, an interview? You're damn right, it's an interview. I want to find out if you have any red flags. I want to find out if it's worthy to even meet you, right? I'm not just going to meet you because we're both cute and stuff. I want to know if you have a great attitude or not, right? So this is a woman that's basically writing, it's a red flag if someone thinks your viewpoint is a red flag, because she's had lots of guys ask her lots of questions, figured out her red flags, and basically stopped talking with her, right? Or has said, you know what, that's a red flag to me. Now, guys, if you're talking to a woman and you figure out a red flag of hers, don't tell her, you know what, we need to stop talking because it's a red flag. Just say this, I've really enjoyed the conversation. But yeah, it just doesn't sound like this would, work for me. But I'm going to let you go so you can, find someone that you're more compatible with. Thank you for your time. Good night, right? That's the mature way to handle it, right? But let's read more here and see what this lady says. They can find it to be a deal breaker because it is different from what they want, of course. But if the fact that you're taking into consideration the partner and your life situation before as big of a commitment as having kids is what's off-putting to them. These are run-on sentences, and it's all over the place. But the fact that you're taking into consideration the partner, okay, and your life situation before as big of a commitment as having kids is what's off-putting to them. It's only off-putting to people that don't want to have kids. You ladies need to, ask guys, are you open to children or not? Most profiles on dating sites say open to children or don't want children. So why don't you filter out guys like that? The problem is you ladies are attracted to the 9s and 10s. You're attracted to the Chads and Tyrones, and they don't want any kids, and they don't want a relationship. You want to have a relationship, you can't date the Chads and Tyrones. Bottom line. Bottom line. Hang on a second here. To me, that says they're rigid thinkers who likely have a tough time seeing beyond their own worldview. No. These guys are smartening up. Unfortunately, I'm taking the guy's side on this one. I don't necessarily take the guy's side all the time because I'm a guy. I've taken the ladies' side before, when the ladies are right. I'm a fair person between both men and women, but you ladies are wrong here, completely wrong on everything here. To me, that says they're rigid thinkers who likely have a tough time seeing beyond their own worldview. No, ma'am, you're just angry and bitter that now you're probably in your 30s or late 30s, and you can't find a guy you're physically attracted to that can offer you, everything else that you want. You're still Chad chasing. That's the bottom line. All of you are still Chad chasing in your 30s and then in your 40s. I see it happening all the time. When I was in the dating world, I would see it happening, right? And I look, I'm not saying I'm all that. I'm an average looking guy. I consider myself to be like a 7 or 7.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm not an 8, 9, or 10. I'm definitely not a Chad, right? But let me tell you something. I have confidence. I know how to talk with women, and I'm still decent looking enough to the point of where I can get a decent amount of attention from women, right? But there are those women that are Chad chasers, and even though I'm a decent looking guy and can offer everything else, they still don't give me the time of day because I'm not the Chad. That's the bottom line. You ladies need to stop chasing the Chads and Tyrone. Stop Chad chasing. Stop Chad chasing. Stop Chad chasing. Stop Chad chasing. And that will turn your life around. You'll get what you want. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this video here today. I want to thank y'all for taking the time to view this video. Another video is coming to this channel soon. Please like, share, subscribe, bang the bell, select the notifications, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.